So what does that tell you? Short-term lodging company and all-around hotel disruptor Airbnb might just be your storm savior if you're stuck due to the storm. On top of that, the company has just announced it plans to have a hand in supporting, you ready, 1.3 million jobs globally this year. That news has just been announced by this very disruptor type of company. The Rent Out Your Home site began 9 years ago by a couple of friends who decided, you know what? Let's rent out air mattresses in our San Francisco apartment to make the rent because it was so high. The company is now valued at $30 billion 9 years later, and it's in 191 countries. Last week after the Snap IPO, I asked Silicon Valley Alley veteran Eric Hippo to pick the next massive IPO. Here's what he said.
I'm not sure it's going to be the next one, but the one that really will pop will be Airbnb.
Okay, when will we see an Airbnb IPO? How does Airbnb plan to support 1+ million jobs? How will it do under fewer regulations President Trump has promised? And what about the storm? Let me bring in Chris Lehane. He's Airbnb's global policy head down at the New York Stock Exchange. Chris, great to have you. First off, how can you help people who will be stuck? Because we just got word that 3,400 flights are being canceled.
Yeah, Liz, terrible news out there. And obviously, we're not looking to take advantage of a situation because of weather. But at the end of the day, Airbnb is an incredibly valuable tool out there for those who may be stranded and looking for a place to stay. Now, we have something called the Disaster Relief Tool, which we have opened up in the past, including around Superstorm Sandy, hurricanes in Florida, where our hosts actually will open up their homes to people who may be stranded and in need of a place to stay. And so obviously we're monitoring the situation really, really carefully and are prepared to move really quickly to help provide that helping hand to folks. And what's unique about Airbnb is it's made up of hosts, right? They make 97% of the money. This is a people-for-people platform. And so in situations like this, they'll often open up their home and welcome people in who need a place to stay.
Well, so no price gouging, right? Because, you know, the Uber used to kick in this special pricing during snowstorms that cost a fortune.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's just not what our community is about. In fact, quite the opposite, which is we do, again, have this disaster relief tool that will open up. Okay. Sometimes we subsidize, sometimes the hosts open it up, but it's really just a great tool for those people who may be stranded and in need.
All right, so Airbnb could be the storm savior. Everybody should go on there and check it. They've got thousands of listings in the tri-state area. I've got lots to discuss. Let's get to this news that you just broke within the hour. This is your first interview since you came out with it. You guys say you will support, that's the wording, 1.3 million jobs this year. That's a breathtaking number. What do you define as a job in this case?
So because the way our platform works, I just mentioned 97% of the money stays with the host. Also, our guests who travel on the platform, they spend 50% of their money in the actual neighborhoods that they're staying in. And so you get both a direct and an indirect impact in terms of how those dollars move around the community. And so the simplest way to think about this is that in the top 40 cities in the world last year, we generated about $4 billion of activity for those restaurants, about $500 million here in New York alone. And think of one restaurant that may have 9 employees, and because of Airbnb being around, they're able to go hire a 10th employee because of the revenues that we throw off.
So it's that subsequent visitor spending when people stay at Airbnbs. Listen, the president has said he wants a lighter regulatory atmosphere because regulations are job killing. Airbnb has been hit by attorneys general, state governors, local municipalities, co-op boards, and in a way they have in some cases tried to stymie your growth. They're not doing such a good job because you're in 191 countries and 65,000 cities. But how do you guys see yourself faring under President Trump, considering that on the other side, he has a company that runs hotels, and hotels do not like you guys because you've disrupted their model?
So I'll make 2 quick points. The first is that over the last year or so, we have done more than 250 partnerships globally with cities, states, countries. We're prepared to work with cities, states, and countries and put in place policies that make sense. That really goes to how we approach our public policy issues. But with regards to President Trump, or really even the Democrats on the other side, both parties have been talking about the middle class. On the right, Republicans talk about the dwindling middle class. On the left, Democrats talk about economic inequality. And look, I've traveled all over the world. And I typically have this conversation. Can you name me a government program that is generating for the typical host $6,000 of supplemental income by being able to use their home without a single taxpayer dollar being spent?
You guys do it.
Yeah, it's a credible value proposition for society.
Chris Lehane, lovely to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Chris with Airbnb. Safe flight out of here if you can get out. If not, you're staying at an Airbnb?
I think I have a number I can call.
I think you have connections. Good to see you. Thank you so much.
Liz, thanks for having me.
Anytime.